Story 1.
My boyfriend went to a party and claims he woke up to his best friend's fiancée on top of him and now he's begging for a second chance. I still love him, but I don't know what to do. Here's a bit of background. I'm 28, and so is my boyfriend. We met in college during a class we both took. He was having a hard time because he partied a lot, while I, the quiet and studious type, was doing well. He kept asking for my help and I finally gave in. I really couldn't stand him at first, but somehow he made me fall for him. He was such an open book as well and waited patiently for me. I didn't let him kiss me till 4 months into dating and didn't sleep with him till our 1-year anniversary. He was my first and I really wanted to be sure I was giving that part of myself to someone who truly loved me. I didn't ask him to, but he slowly gave up partying and drinking from me when we both found a new friend group in college who we've maintained to this day. He gave up everything willingly because he said he'd rather spend time at home with me. The one thing from his past that he didn't give up, though, was his childhood best friend, who we'll call Max. Max always hated me. I think he blames me that he sees my boyfriend only a few times a month and that he isn't fun anymore. He also openly questions our relationship in front of both of us and says stuff like, "You'll come to your senses eventually." When talking to my boyfriend, I told him I wasn't comfortable, so since then he never let Max around me. But they still hung out and I really didn't mind because I fully trusted him. Okay, so this is what happened recently. Max got engaged to his long-term on-again, off-again girlfriend and invited both of us over to celebrate. It would have been just the 4 of us. I declined, which in retrospect was a big mistake. My boyfriend offered to stay with me, but I told him he didn't need to and I'd understand. If he wanted to support Max, even though I despised the guy. Again, this was a mistake in retrospect. The next morning, my boyfriend came home crying. We are living together. He was still clearly hungover, so I bathed him and put him to bed. When he woke up a few hours later, he told me everything. Apparently he got really drunk at the party. Max's fiancée, who I guess I'll call homewrecker, was very flirty with him the whole night and helped him and he passed out. The next thing my boyfriend says he remembers was when he woke up. Homewrecker was going down on him while he was completely exposed. He says he was too drunk and just went along with it while Max watched. According to my boyfriend, they're into the whole hot wire thing, whatever that means. Next thing my boyfriend says he remembers was waking up exposed next to a homewrecker with a bunch of used rubbers all around him. He rushed home after that. My heart is breaking right now, and I really don't know what to do. He's been begging me for a second chance, even showing me he blocked Max and homewrecker on everything. He promised never to contact them again. He also swears to not drink when I'm not around anymore, and that he'd keep his phone unlocked, and I can look through it whenever I want it. No questions asked. He kept telling me how much he regrets it and how much he loves me, and that and the only one sad thing is I believe him. This man was my first everything, and I feel like my world is just crumbling around me. A few weeks ago we were thinking about getting married and how many kids we wanted. Now I can't even look at him without my heart breaking into this. All happened a few days ago, and I barely left the room. He's giving me space, but he's also doing the little things that make me fall for him again. He keeps the house clean. He's been cooking me the food I like and leaving short love notes beside it on the dinner table. I'm lost right now. I so desperately want to forgive him, but every time I look at him, I can't shake off the image of him being with another woman. I know I was never his first, but he kept promising me I was going to be his last, and he broke it. Despite everything, though, deep down, I still love him. I don't know where to go from here. I'm crying just typing this out, but I don't have anyone to talk to about this. Usually when problems this big come up in my life, he's the one I turn to for help. I love him, but I don't know if I can trust him anymore. What should I do? Will couples counseling help? Should I just cut my losses and end it? He seems very remorseful, and he did confess to the whole thing immediately after. Should I give him a chance? Sorry for the long rant. I'm just lost right now. Update 3 days later. First of all, I'd like to say thank you for those who gave me really solid advice in my last post. A lot has happened in the last few days. I'm sorry, I haven't been replying to any of you. I just didn't think I was in the right headspace to actually hold a meaningful conversation. Rest assured, I did read all of your replies, even the really mean ones. So where do I begin? Well, I think some of you would be delighted to know that he left me for not being supportive. Sucks to be me, I guess. I guess you guys were right. I'm a sucky girlfriend. He's now off to be with his brand new supportive girlfriend. Nah, just kidding. But some of you would have wanted that to happen, right? So here's what really happened. After reading some of your comments, I started to see things from a different perspective. I never really thought of it as anything other than cheating, and it didn't help that when he came home to me that morning, he claimed to have cheated on me. And I guess my mind just started going to a dark place where logic goes out of the window. It's definitely not an excuse, but I really wasn't in the right mindset after he said he cheated. I think a lot of people would have reacted the same. I guess it was after the realization that this man would never willingly hurt me is when all the anger and pain of being cheated on was washed away. I couldn't really bring myself to talk to him at first. He was on the couch blankly staring at whatever was on TV. He looked empty. I sat beside him and told him I had no intentions of breaking up. Well, he came to life almost instantly, and before I knew it, His arms were wrapped around me. He was shaking, and I could tell he was crying. I was too. Remember when I said I felt my world was crumbling around me? Well, for the first time in what seemed like forever, I could feel it starting to fall back into place. I didn't realize how much a simple embrace can be so calming. Everything was starting to feel right again. Then we talked. He apologized again for cheating, and when I told him, I didn't think he cheated, he had a puzzled look on his face. I asked him if he gave consent and he said no. I tried to explain. I guess he still doesn't realize that he was actually taken advantage of. He said the first thing that came to mind after what happened was that he cheated and was so afraid of losing me. This man, after being saved, first thought of how much he betrayed me instead of how he was betrayed himself. I was floored. He said his first response had to be to win me back, which is why he's been going the extra mile the last few days, taking care of me from a distance. When it was my turn to speak, I told him how sorry I was for not being supportive. I jumped to conclusions without actually thinking about it clearly, which was pretty out of character for me, but I guess it was just the heat of the moment. A few more exchanges after that and the conversation shifted to Max and Homewrecker. I told him that I never wanted him anywhere near Max or her again, and he agreed. I'd always thought he was a bad influence, but I never thought he'd take it this far, so I never stopped him from seeing his ex-best friend. He showed me his phone, which didn't have a lock anymore. He said he'd blocked both of them on everything, but wanted to keep the open phone policy. He said it so I can be sure he isn't back in touch with Max. I urged him to file a police report, but he was against it. He said that even if he was essayed, he couldn't bring himself to do it. I didn't really know about it at first, but his family and Max's family had a very long history of friendship. Their mothers were college best friends and their dads worked together. Not only were the two of them close, even their families were close. I thought they were just neighbors, but it was more than that. I didn't know because every time I visited his family, the topic was never brought up and I haven't really met any of Max's family except for his little sister who came by to play with my boyfriend's little brother. He said he didn't want to ruin decades of friendship and would be content with just going no contact with Max. He's getting tested later today, and I hope that tramp didn't give my man anything. I'm also pretty confident my boyfriend didn't get Homewrecker pregnant because Max absolutely hates children, so I'd imagine Homewrecker would be on birth control given how many dudes she sleeps with. My boyfriend and I came to the conclusion that Max most likely set the whole thing up to break us apart so he can have his best friend back. It doesn't seem too far-fetched, to be honest. They used to be partners in crime. After all, when it came to parties and picking up women, I would like to point out that I did not force him to change. He himself chose to do so, but I know he did it for me, which just makes me fall in love with him even more. When we first met, he was still the Playboy party animal. He was, but he told me after hanging out with me for a few weeks that he didn't really feel like sleeping around anymore. I didn't really believe him at first, obviously. I've also noticed that a few people were bashing me for making him wait 1 year for lovemaking. I'm sorry, I just have different views. I believe that lovemaking is for people who love each other, so I wasn't willing to sleep with anyone I wasn't deeply in love with and didn't love me back. I don't judge people who sleep around. My boyfriend has a high body count, but I don't really hold it against him. But back then I just wanted to be sure I wasn't just a girl he bangs or a conquest, but someone who he actually loves and sees a future with. Considering his past, I was very skeptical for a while and I had my walls up the entire time, but he slowly took them apart. And I'm glad he did that. Reluctant, yes. When he first asked me out was and still is one of the best decisions I've ever made. Max's plan had the opposite effect. It's rough now, but I can see this experience making our relationship even stronger. I love him more than ever, believe it or not, and I'm sure he feels the same way. The last few days have taught us both how crappy our lives would be without the other. I guess it made us value each other more. Not that either of us ever took the other for granted. And yes, we are both getting therapy, both individually and as a couple. To be honest, I'm still shaking over the whole thing. Even when we cuddle, I can still imagine Homewrecker having her way with him and I can't help but cry about it if I'm still shaken up by the whole thing. I can only imagine how much worse it is for him, but I'll be there for him every step of the way. I know he didn't cheat. I know he won't break my heart. I know that he loves me. I know that I love him. It's hard right now, but knowing those facts makes me confident we can see this through. One Redditor pointed out that we were soulmates, and I like to think that we are. I can't see myself being with anyone but him. So thanks again for all your advice and for making me see things differently.
Story 2.
I got pretty angry at my wife when I found out she had a secret abortion, even though I told her I didn't want kids. I've been happily married to my wife, Clara, for around 3 years now. I love this woman to pieces. I don't want to get sentimental, but she truly is my other half, and I cannot see myself with another woman even now. Before we got married, I made my stance on children clear. I didn't want any. She agreed in the moment, and I thought that was that. About a year and a half into our marriage, she brings up the question of children again. She asked me if I want kids, and I say, no, I don't. She hums and we go back to doing what we were before. It wasn't a conversation so much as it was an odd question this time around, but I didn't think anything. We had a very robust, intimate life, but always took the necessary precautions. She has the implant and I use protection around 90% of the time, so I wasn't worried. Her bookshelf recently broke, so I ordered a new one. I had wanted to build it as a surprise and put her books up on it for when she came home. While going through them, I noticed an old journal of hers. I immediately smiled and flipped through it. When we were in college, she'd carry it around. It was a future planning notebook of sorts. If she wanted something in life, she'd draw out exactly what she envisioned at Clifton's. The whole 9 yards manifestation, if you will. She had shown me it in college after declaring that she wanted to pursue her doctorate. And I remember being stunned at the attention to detail. I mean, we were only sophomores and she knew exactly what she wanted to do, what she wanted to study, and where she would take herself. It made me feel out of depth. I liked it anyway. I flipped through the journal, reminiscing about the past. I hadn't expected there to be any new entries, at least not anything recent that I hadn't experienced with. But as I opened it up, I saw something I never thought I'd see. It was a section dedicated to pregnancy and baby prep. She had researched prenatal vitamins. Gynecologists in our area had images of cradles, etc. It was only 2 pages, but I remember feeling so sick in my head. There was only one reason she'd put that in a journal like this. She clearly wanted kids. Naturally, I was pretty choked up. I kept telling myself I had been upfront about what I wanted, and if she hadn't, that was her fault. But the thought that she'd secretly been suffering because of me, that she was holding herself back from the life she wanted just to please me, I couldn't stand it. I confronted her about it as soon as we came home and I found out the situation was a lot worse than I thought. Clara did indeed want kids, but claimed she wanted our relationship more and was okay with compromise. I asked her a million times if she was sure I really wanted her to be honest and not feel like she had to hold anything back. She insisted that not having children wasn't a deal breaker for her, but I kept pushing. I couldn't understand why she'd put something that wasn't that important to her in that journal. In the midst of our conversation, she dropped the bomb. She told me she had an abortion a year and a half ago, offered up the information like I should have been relieved, like it was the proof she needed to convince me that she meant what she said about children not being a deal breaker. I can't describe what I felt in that moment, what I'm still feeling. What I can say is that I have never blown up at my wife the way I did that night. I didn't put my hands on her. I would never put my hands on her. But it was not a pretty exchange. I just remember feeling hurt that she hadn't consulted me on such an important decision that she went and had such a life-altering procedure without discussing it with me that I didn't even freaking notice that it happened. I mean, those things have side effects, right? She would have been bedridden for days afterwards in physical and emotional pain. How could I not have seen the signs? I'm still beating myself up about it. I remember her asking me if I want kids, but nothing about her emotional state for the rest of that week when she would have had the procedure done. How much can I really claim to care about her? I don't want children. I still don't, but I'd rather chew my left arm off than make her have an abortion. Even more so now, after she's told me she isn't really against having kids the way I am. I'd happily raise a kid if it meant she didn't need to go through something so drastic. I've been staying with my sister for the last week and a half. I needed space to think, so I left. I want to see her to ask if she's okay, but I don't know what to do or say. I'm still unbelievably angry at her and at myself. I don't want to yell at her again. I think the first time around scared her pretty badly, and I don't want to repeat that. My sister thinks I'm being petty, punishing my wife for something I would have agreed with regardless, but I wouldn't have agreed. I don't know. Am I in the wrong here? Update. This whole update is just so I can clear things up as well as give some of my thoughts. 1. A lot of you were concerned about me snooping in Clara's journal. I met this woman when I was 6 years old. We had experienced over half of what she had written down in that notebook together. She's been letting me read her entries routinely since college, though I would read them more often back then. Like I said, I found her decisiveness incredibly attractive. But college was 6 to 7 years ago, and times changed. I'm not sure if she has other journals, but her use of this specific one died down as we got older, and so did my readership. I felt no qualms about picking it up and reading it that day because I, quite frankly, never had. This was not the first time I read that journal without her present, as I've been given express permission to do so. It was meant to be a quick trip down memory lane. I had no idea she had added more things, let alone pregnancy planning. She keeps all her old journals, sketchbooks, etc. in the same area, and this book was in that pile. 2. You should have gotten a vasectomy. I'm not discussing my reasons for not wanting kids here, but I did discuss them thoroughly with Clara before we got married. Our reasons for not wanting children were very similar based on that initial conversation, but I guess hers wavered as time went on. How? That turned me into an evil dictator that refused to hear her opinions out. I'll never understand, but I guess that's Reddit for you. I didn't get a vasectomy because I'm not sure that I won't want kids 10 to 15 years down the line. I am positive I don't want them at the current moment, but I'm 27. Opinions and circumstances change. Regardless of its reversibility, it's marketed as a permanent surgery. Vasectomies are covered by my health insurance, but reversals are not. It simply made no sense to invest in something I wasn't sure could be undone if I didn't want it anymore. Not when Clara and I were taking the necessary precautions to avoid pregnancy. Otherwise, she got on birth control way before we started being intimate. I had absolutely nothing to do with that decision. As far as I know, she's quite happy with it. The chances of pregnancy with the implant are less than 1%, even less when using a rubber as well. We talked about the decision together and ultimately decided a vasectomy wasn't the right choice. Someone actually went as far as to say that because I didn't get my vas deferens cinched, an unexpected pregnancy was inevitable. A 0.5% chance and inevitable are two vastly different things. You guys do realize that vasectomies aren't 100% effective either, right? Unless you're pushing for abstinence. I really don't want to hear it. We also don't go wrong unless we both agree to it, which I would never pressure her to do. 3. You verbally abused her. Clara and I both grew up in crappy homes. Our parents yelled and were extremely combative. After growing up in that environment, we agreed to avoid the kind of behavior in our relationship, and we do our best to keep to that. I have never raised my voice that before this argument. I'm more on the timid side, so I imagine it was a shock for her to see me so angry. She also just doesn't do well with yelling in general. It wasn't my words so much as it was my tone. Should I have raised my voice? No, but I'm not an infallible robot. My comment about not putting my hands on her was to draw conclusions away from physical violence. Clearly, it wasn't taken that way and had the opposite effect. The exchange was heated on both sides. Lots of things were said. It was the worst disagreement we have ever had, and we've been together for close to a decade. Close friends for even longer. That being said, I still think it was on the tamer side of the overall spectrum relative to other people. That spectrum might be a bit skewed due to my childhood, but take that as you will. 4. You're a jerk for leaving her for a week and a half. To be fully clear, this was a mutually respected decision. I told her I needed space to think. She suggested I take it outside the house. Granted, she wasn't the happiest when she said it, but we had just finished a heated argument. We texted the entire time I was at my sister's place. Very dull and mundane conversation, mostly pleasantries, but I didn't just abandon her. We weren't speaking audibly, but we weren't no contact. I don't know how else to phrase that. Things were just tense and very different from our usual level of interaction. Everything was surface level. We would check to make sure the other ate showered, whatever else, but that was it. There was no continuation of our discussion while we were apart. We were both taking the time to make sure we were in the right headspace to have a proper conversation, as is common for our relationship. It just took me a bit longer to get there. 5. She wouldn't have been bedridden. Abortions aren't that deep. I'll concede to the physical aspect of this. I've often heard them described as a bad period, and a lot of the women in my life tend to tap out during their monthlies, which is what I based my assumption on. I accept that it was incorrect, though I'm not sure if I should, because half of you agreed with my take in the post condemning me for not noticing and the other half told me I was overreacting. Again, I guess that's Reddit for you. More importantly, I will not agree on the general take on the emotional aspect. At the time I still did not believe Clara genuinely wanted to have an abortion after hearing her updated stance on having kids. I imagine her feelings would be on par with someone who experienced a miscarriage rather than an abortion because of this. I still do. The only thing that would change my mind at this point is Claire herself. 6. You should go to couples counseling and seek therapy individually. We are both in different types of talk therapy and have been for several years. I'm not sure how helpful couples therapy would be on top of that, but I'm not opposed to it. 7. Asking if you wanted kids was consult enough. She doesn't know you anything. Reading through the comments, many of you thought this and were simply going to have to disagree. As the father of a child, the decision to abort should not have been made without my clear and explicit knowledge that she was pregnant. We weren't separated at the time, nor did I cheat. And contrary to popular belief, I'm not abusive. I deserve to know. I won't apologize for expecting my wife to consult me on family planning decisions. I do the same for her 10 times over. If roles were reversed, call it controlling. I really don't care. Asking if I want kids is a completely different discussion than terminating egg. Pregnancy. I am on my way home now and will update if the situation changes. Likely sometime this week. I'd ask for well wishes, but I think it's clear none of you are rooting in my favor. Final update. I came home the morning following my initial post and Claire and I had a very long conversation. We both apologized for letting the previous conversation get out of hand and acting out of character. I also explained why I left in the first place and apologized for raising my voice. She's especially sensitive to that kind of thing, so I addressed it first. She forgave me and said, as long as we could keep things calm this time around, it would be okay. She was more interested in finding out what I was so deep in thought about that I was gone for so long. Again, we do take breaks from conflicts from time to time and revisit them when we're common. Though this was the first one where I physically removed myself from her proximity. I told her how I initially felt after reading her journal entry. I hadn't been mad then. Part of me was confused. We had agreed on no kids before getting married after all. The other half was riddled with anxiety. Contrary to what you may all think, I adore Claire. She is quite honestly one of the only good things this life has given me. I didn't want to lose her, but if she wanted kids badly enough to put them in her journal, I wasn't sure what that would mean for us. She downplayed the importance of the entry in her view. Not everything she puts into the journal is something she's genuinely hoping for. Some things are just nice to fantasize about, and not every fantasy was meant to be reality. I was honest. I told her that her words were hard to believe, given how meticulously she had written everything down and planned it out. The last thing I wanted was for her to harbor resentment over what her life could have been. She assured me that wasn't the case, but I'm still unsure. Talking about the abortion itself was hard on both of us. I wanted to know if she was in pain, what signs I had missed. I didn't really press for details on the procedure, but we talked a lot about how she felt afterwards, why she hid it, and how she came to her decision. I just held her in my arms and listened for the most part. It was gut-wrenching, to say the least. It turns out that the second time she had asked if I wanted kids occurred a month or two after she had already had the procedure done. She had asked because she was contemplating whether or not to tell me about it. I guess she had ultimately decided not to. She told me I was actually with her the day she took the pills. I remember the day because she had been crying and I wasn't sure why. When I asked, she cited cramps, so I got her a heating pad and laid down with her. Her periods have always been pretty hard on her, so I guess I didn't think much of it. In hindsight, I should have realized something was up because she hasn't had bad cramps in years. Still, I'm glad she didn't go through it completely alone. Much later that day I asked her why she didn't come to me when she realized she was pregnant. In her eyes, she was protecting our relationship. She knows our circumstances, my reasons for not wanting kids, my stance on abortion. She didn't want to burden me with having to choose between the two, and so she made the choice herself. As hard as I tried, I can't understand or accept her reasoning. Her decision to go through this alone, while meant to shield me, inadvertently communicated that she doesn't trust me to support her or handle the truth. All I understood is that she feels like she can't lean on me when she's in trouble. And if that's the case, I'm not sure why we're married. She's always been independent, but this is the first time I've felt completely blindsided by not being included. I asked up and down if I had given her a reason to doubt me, to doubt my commitment to her, if she felt I wasn't a reliable partner, etc. She said no, but that just makes all this harder to grasp. She said she was afraid saying anything would change how I viewed her in our relationship. But I'm having a hard time distinguishing insecurity and anxiety from reasonable doubt. I asked her if she knew I loved her, how much I care for her, the lengths I would go to make her happy, etc. She laughed a little and reminded me of a line from my wedding vows. We shared private vows before our ceremony, and I had said quite a bit. I was a little shocked that she remembered that portion at all, let alone word for word. We transitioned to talking about the promises we made one another, and just times in our relationship where we had complete trust and faith in one another. It helped put us both in better moods and ended the night on a lighter note for both of us. We're doing okay at the moment, not quite where we were before, but getting there. Everything's still incredibly raw, including our eyes. We both broke down 5 minutes into the conversation. Clara is against couples counseling right now. I'm ambivalent as we're still working a couple of things out on our own. I'm not sure how helpful a third party asking what steps we're willing to take to improve trust and transparency will really be, but I'm open to anything at this point. We're not leaving one another issues or not. We both think it's clear that there's still an abundance of love between us and we don't want to throw that away. Some of you will be happy to know that Claire and I decided on a new rule for ourselves. Clara was a lot more upset about my leaving than she initially let on. From now on, the distance between the top and bottom floors of our home is all the space either of us are allowed to take. We need to cool our heads. If proximity really does become an issue, the max either of us are allowed to stay outside the house is 48 hours, so no more week-long stays at mine. Sisters, and that's it.
Story 3.
I took my wife's friend out for dinner while she was out of town, and now my wife is furious and keeps referring to it as a date night. I went out for dinner with one of my wife's friends last week when my wife was out of town. I wanted some honest opinions on if I did something wrong here and how big of trouble I'm in. So to give full context, my wife was away for a week visiting her parents. She has a friend, Amanda, who she has been friends with for many years. Amanda has had a rough patch where she broke up with her boyfriend and also lost her job. My wife has been supportive of her. Last week, Amanda had an interview and asked my wife if she could give her a ride home from the airport. As my wife was out of town and my office is near the airport, my wife asked me if I can give her a ride on my way back from work. I did not have any plans, so I agreed. Amanda and I are not really friends and I only interact with her when we meet socially. I told Amanda to message me when her flight gets to the airport and I can pick her up. I picked her up around 6 p.m. and we were driving home. We were just having small talk about the new company she was interviewing at and her work in general. Amanda told me she does not have any food at home and if we can stop by at a drive-thru so that she can pick up some food. I was also hungry and I suggested we can stop by somewhere and have a quick dinner before I drop her home. She agreed and started searching for places on the way. She punched in an address to a restaurant on the way and we drove to that place. We did not know this, but this place was a pretty fancy Italian restaurant. She said, "This looks too fancy." And I said, "We are already here, so let's eat." I messaged my wife, "We are getting dinner," and she said, "Okay." We had a pretty fun evening and a nice dinner. She had a few drinks and I did not since I was driving. We generally never talk much, but she opened up to me and we had a very nice chat. I never knew Amanda and I had so much in common and liked the same music and movies. I did not notice, but we were at the restaurant for 1.5 hours. Amanda was taking pictures during dinner and also asked the server to take our picture at the end of the meal. I dropped Amanda home. She gave me a quick hug and said, "Thanks for such a nice evening." I called my wife, told her I dropped Amanda off and I'm heading home. She seemed busy and I just let her know. I reached home and said goodnight. This is where things got a bit weird. Amanda messaged me around 11 p.m. saying, "Thanks for the ride," and she had a good time. She sent me our picture together. I saw the message and just liked it to acknowledge it. Later that night, Amanda shared some of the photos from our dinner on her Instagram, including our photo together, and captioned it as dinner with a friend. I am not friends with Amanda on Instagram and did not see it. Next morning my wife called me and asked me how my date night with Amanda was. I laughed it off and thought she was teasing me, but my wife sounded pissed off and kept on asking me about all the details, like when I got home, which I was happy to provide. That night my wife called me again and told me that Amanda told her about the night before. The issue was Amanda made the dinner sound way nicer than what it was. She kept on praising me for how I was a gentleman and treated me better than most of her dates, how I am a good listener, paid for the whole thing, etc. I feel Amanda also added fuel to the fire by telling my wife all the wonderful things I did for her during the evening. My wife feels like I should have asked her before inviting Amanda to such a fancy place for a romantic dinner. She was also pissed that hundreds of people liked Amanda's post on Instagram and she feels disrespected that her husband is going out on date nights with her single friend when she was out of town. She also jokingly asked me how a goodnight kiss was, and I told her it was just a hug that seemed to make her angry. I have not even told her about the late night message from Amanda. I mean, liking the picture with a heart emoji because I am too scared at this point. I wanted to ask if I was wrong to invite Amanda for dinner when both of us were starving and it was dinner time. Do you think my wife is wrong and overreacting to all of this? I was just being nice to her friend, who she asked me to drive home. I also communicated with my wife all through the night, and she seemed okay with it at the time. She only got offended after she saw Amanda's Insta post. Should I call Amanda and tell her to talk to my wife and explain? It was just a friendly meal and I was not being inappropriate? Update the next day. She came home yesterday evening and I went to pick her up at the airport. I went on my charm offensive and got some flowers and chocolates on my way while my wife was happy to see me after 2 weeks. I could see she was a bit annoyed by me. I asked her if she wants to stop by for dinner at a restaurant and she gave me a look and told me to keep driving and we will order takeout. She also asked me to cut the bull crap and be normal. After we reached home, we settled in and I got the dinner ready. I decided to be direct and asked her why the incident was really bothering her. I told her that I know she is not an insecure person and she also knows I would never put myself in an inappropriate position. While I understood why she would be annoyed by the situation, I would not expect her to doubt me. She was the one who trusted me to pick up her friend in the evening from the airport as it was dinner time and her friend said she was hungry. It would have been rude of me to not offer to get food for her. Also, my wife knows that I always offer to pay for dinners irrespective if it is my friends or hers. It is just the way I was brought up, and we have fights during family gatherings. On who gets to pay. I asked her what was the thing. That was exactly bothering her and why she was okay during the night when I kept her updated about everything but got upset in the morning. My wife told me that the whole situation smelled funky to her. She told me that she does not doubt me one bit, that I had any wrong intentions. However, the optics of it all was really bad for her. She said that she is not upset at me getting dinner for her friend. She would expect me to do that, and Amanda also appreciates it. She said that the issue started early morning when her mom barged into her room to show her Amanda's post. Her mom thought I was going out with Amanda behind my wife's back. My wife told her that she knew I took her out for dinner and told her about what happened. She then got a lecture from her mom about how naive she was. And this is how affair started. My wife said that it annoyed her a lot. Her mom also looked up the restaurant and told my wife that it was a very pricey place and was voted best place for romantic dates by some magazine. She said her mom completely freaked out after seeing my picture with Amanda. So my wife looked up our credit card statement and realized I had spent a lot on the meal. She also said that Amanda has a huge social media following on Instagram and posts a lot. I think she is like a fitness influencer or something. But I don't really follow her, even though most of the pictures in her post were food. The last photo of me and her looked like a boyfriend reveal as we were sitting next to each other. She told me, I won't understand as I am not on Instagram. But this is how people announce they are dating someone nowadays. As the day went on, Amanda got more than 1,000 likes on the post, while a lot of people commenting and saying we look nice. She was annoyed. Amanda did not correct any of them. So she called Amanda in the evening to ask her to take the last picture down. However, Amanda kept on praising me and how I was charming and fine. Amanda told her that for all these years she felt I was snobbish and pretentious. I am a huge introvert, so I come off that way, but she was wrong. My wife said this was annoying because she has never seen me be charming with any of her friends before when she is around. Amanda was talking about all my favorite bands and how we should all go to see a concert sometime. Amanda told her she posted our photo because she has never been treated to such a nice place before and wanted to acknowledge me in the post. My wife never asked her to take down the picture because of that. She then had a lot of questions for me as to when I dropped her off, why I walked her to the apartment building door, and when I got home. I told her I can show you exact times and receipts for everything. But do we really want to be the couple who questions each other about every little detail she can check when we got the credit card charge? The messages I sent her after dropping Amanda and our Ring camera and garage and come to her own conclusions. She asked me if she thought Amanda was flirting with me during the night, and I told her that was not the case. In fact, Amanda messaged me our photo at night and I just said an emoji instead of engaging in a conversation, mostly because I was busy with my video game. That chapter was closed for us, and neither Amanda nor I messaged each other after that. Amanda is my wife's friend and I do not intend to be close friends with her anyways, as I have my own friends. I also insisted to her that Amanda was not inappropriate in any way during the night and maintained proper boundaries, so this incident should not affect her friendship with Amanda. In fact, if Amanda had any bad intentions, she knew my wife was out for the rest of the week and would have tried to message me again, but she forgot about the evening, and so should we. Overall, my wife seems to be back to normal after the conversation. My wife is not an insecure person. I could see why she would be annoyed by the situation. However, I know in my heart that I will never disrespect our marriage and I have no reason to be sneaky or lie about the situation to her. I am glad we talked it through and I was able to answer all her questions. Thanks again for all your suggestions. Story 4. My wife and I have always been open and honest, but I found divorce papers on her laptop, and now I'm terrified. She was planning to leave me. 30 male. I'm freaking out. I thought we had a happy marriage. We've been married for 6 years and dating for 10. We started dating when I was 20, and she was 23. My wife, 33 female, and I have always been very open with each other. We share passwords and have never hidden anything when we have disagreements. We get through it together. We've never screamed or yelled at each other. We're in couples and individual therapy, not because of anything wrong with our relationship, but because we want to make sure that we're happy. My wife always says better prevention than cure. But yesterday, she left her laptop open and I saw she was looking up New York divorce papers and how to see if someone was cheating. In some subreddits, there were 5 or 6 tabs open. I pretended I didn't see anything but went into the bathroom and threw up. I've been shaking in anxiety and my wife has noticed I haven't left her side and she's asked me if anything was wrong. Readers, I've never cheated and never even thought of cheating. I don't even watch stuff. I don't even know how she could think I would betray her like this. If it's the opposite and she's cheating, I don't even know how she would do it. Because even if she didn't love me, she doesn't even have the time. I checked her phone and computer and she doesn't have anything previously downloaded. There's nothing fishy and nothing suggesting even an emotional affair. She's been incredibly affectionate. She loves me and would never hurt me. So it's me. She thinks I have a part-time bakery catering business. I run from home and she works from home for literally 70 to 80 hour work weeks and is the breadwinner. We haven't left each other's side, and I love it that way. COVID was actually good for us because we could spend so much time together. My wife is the love of my life. I'm in the process of being diagnosed and looking at symptoms online. I'm pretty sure she's my favorite person. FP. It's unhealthy, but she's never complained about me being clingy or overbearing. I don't know why she would want a divorce. I'm afraid to talk to her about it, because what if she starts thinking of divorcing me and realizes that she's so much better and deserves so much more and just leaves? I feel like somehow talking about the D word will manifest it and ruin all the happiness I have. I wish I never saw it today. She joked that we'd literally melt together because I haven't stopped holding her all morning. I'm afraid that I'll fall asleep and she'll disappear from my life. Edit. I know I need to talk to my wife. My wife and I decided together after she suggested it to have me work part-time. I run a catering business from home. I do all of the housework. My wife works in a demanding field, and part of the reason for the long hours is all the pro bono work that she does. I'm very proud of her, and though I wish she cut back on hours for her own health, I would never dream of asking her to quit a job she loves and has a positive impact on. Edit 2. I'm talking with her tonight, or maybe tomorrow morning. My wife has a pretty big project at work she needs to finish and that's no time to have a conversation. Logically, I know she might be researching for a friend of hers, but mentally and emotionally my brain is screaming that she forgot to close the window, that she's leaving me and I'll never be with the love of my life again. Right now I'm leaving her to work and just watching some random show update. I just want to say I'm very grateful for everyone's love and support. Last night my wife asked me if anything was wrong. She was finally done with work, so I bit the bullet and asked her why she had tabs full of divorce information. It wasn't for a friend or family or anyone we knew. The divorce tabs was because she recently read a cozy mystery with a divorce turned murder, and she thought it was so bad and unrealistic that she could write one better. My wife is an avid reader, me not so much, and likes to read mystery novels, though I secretly think it's because she can complain about them to me. I read some of it this morning and my wife's short story is better than most movies. To be honest, I could see her becoming an author when we retire. I struggle with my mental health, and though my wife has been through trauma, she's a stronger person than me, though I knew logically that she was looking for some other reason than our relationship. Mentally and emotionally, my brain was screaming at me that she was going to leave and I was going to lose the love of my life. I have suspected BPD and my wife is my FP and my soulmate. I know some of my behavior is unhealthy, but it's an uphill struggle. It doesn't help that my wife is the most amazing, selfless, loving person I know. I was the product of a one-night stand to two parents who didn't want me. Neither of them had steady jobs or relationships or really any desire to parent. If I was too much of a burden for my dad, he dropped me off to my mom's who wouldn't be home. I'd be locked outside her apartment until she came home at 2 a.m. There'd be nothing in the fridge. School wasn't much better. I was the weird, short kid with long, greasy hair and 2-day-old clothes, and I was relentlessly bullied. When I was 14, I was finally taken away by my maternal grandparents who didn't have a relationship with my mom. Though they loved me, they couldn't really take care of me because they were old. We lived in a tiny house stuffed full of useless things. When I was 19, my grandma died. Lung cancer. I think my grandpa died then, too. He stopped eating properly. They were deeply in love. I met my wife when my grandpa was dying of heart disease. I was 20 and she was 23. She worked as a consultant and had been working 90+ hours a week. We met a mutual friend for lunch, and he introduced us. After lunch, we ended up spending the whole day and night together, just talking. It was amazing. I felt bad because her parents yelled at her for not calling them that night. I asked her out the next day and she said yes. My grandpa died literally a month later. She helped me with a funeral and came over to help clean the house without me even asking for the first time. I could actually see the walls of the house I lived in. My mom wanted the inheritance. My grandparents didn't leave any inheritance, just death and a house. My mom didn't want. She didn't even care about me. My wife got me a lawyer friend to keep my mom away. My mom didn't even care. Once she found out there was no money, my wife supported me through it all. A few months later, my wife said she was going to her home country for a visit. Her grandmother was sick. The first day she called, and then for a month, there was radio silence. I thought my wife got tired of me and I hated myself for burdening her. It was a bad spiral. Finally, there was a call and she asked me if I could help find where she was and how to get to the nearest airport. Her parents had hidden away her passport and she was sure she was going to be married off. She stole back her US passport. Her job paid for her flight back, even though they had previously fired her for not checking in for 2 weeks. I met her at the airport. She looked so tired. Our next date night, she looked better, but I had a feeling something was wrong. I followed her and she was going to a women's shelter. Her parents had cleared out her bank account and she didn't have a place to stay. I told my wife she could live with me at my grandparents' house, and it wasn't a burden. She tried to do all the chores and pay rent at the same time, but I was just happy she was with me. Though it's twisted, I was secretly kind of thrilled that she ran away from the marriage. To me, it felt like she chose me over her parents. Her parents tried to track her down. We got married and they cut her off for good. Like me, she didn't get much physical affection growing up either. She was expected to get great grades and clean up after everyone because she was a girl. There was lots of physical hurt. Education was a way for her to be more marriageable. That's why they agreed to let her to get a job while going to grad school. Once she finished, she would be married off to an older man and be a housewife. She didn't want that. We had to build up our finances from the ground up. My wife likes experts who tell us what to do with our money, our relationship, our house remodeling because she wants us to be happy. I'm terrified of losing her. That someday she'll realize that she could have something better because I need her so much. People on the thread have told me I'm too clingy, that my wife secretly hates that. Now when I hold on to my wife or rest my head on her chest or lap, I wonder if she's lying, that she loves that she's just tolerating me. I talked with my therapist and he told me of some techniques to get my anxiety under control and some techniques for BPD. As he's a CBT therapist, I still have my diagnosis coming up in 5 months. My wife loves me and she's not leaving me. Story 5.
My boyfriend's been ignoring me since I called him out for belittling my book, saying my work is meaningless, and now I'm wondering if my response was too mean. So I need the opinion of people not attached to me or him, but my boyfriend got mad at me Sunday and he's been ignoring me since, so I feel like maybe I'm the jerk. So me, 35 female, and my boyfriend, 35 male, have known each other 10 years and dated for 2. He knows how much I like writing books. I self-published a kid's book last month and he's been really quiet about it. This past weekend at my family cookout, my father mentioned the book and how proud he is of me, but my boyfriend walked inside saying he was grabbing our drinks. At the end of the day, my parents offered me some money to go to a book convention, and my boyfriend audibly scoffed. On the way home, I asked what his deal was and he said that his job, he's a back-end software engineer, will provide for us, and he will let me have my son as a creative for now, but I eventually have to grow up. I laughed because I assumed he was joking. He, of course, was upset and told me my meaningless book was objectively illustrated poetry. I shut down and he then was upset. I was acting mad, so I changed the subject. He continued to make my book a topic by jokingly saying my glorified illustrated poetry shows my middle child syndrome, or that I must crave mediocre attention from people. I shrugged and replied, "Hey, if you think you're mediocre, okay," and moved on. He texted me the next morning saying I took him down and was being a bully and he was kidding with me. And he hasn't at all responded to me since. I'm away on a planned work trip and now I'm overthinking it. Maybe I am the jerk here? Update 3 days later. Hey, y'all had to post this because what a time to be alive. I broke up with Chris a few hours ago. Boy, howdy. He had ignored me for a full day, and I hadn't reached out to him because I was honestly fed up with his attitude. We've been together for 2 years and I never have seen him act this way. I flip-flopped between maybe he was having a bad day or something was going on and he transferred his negative energy in my book. But now he's just a soggy, moldy baby carrier that didn't think I had dreams of my own. I would throw it away for him. Our mutual friends have told me that he had basically told them that I rubbed my success in his face and made him feel like a saint, just following his girlfriend around, being ignored. When he has a successful business and has the higher paying job. He texted the day after his silent treatment that me not reaching out to him is a sign that I don't love him and went on to say that I love my book more than I love him because I neglected him while working on it. And then I didn't praise him at the party as my biggest supporter. The rest of his paragraph, long text, went on to talk about that. He had this whole plan that he would marry me and we would be engaged this year. But then you started not listening to me to drop things and focus on us, our lives in the future by taking up hobbies. And that my therapist poisoned me against him. I was diagnosed with depression this year, and therapy has helped a lot. It hurt because I felt immediately like all I do is just rubbish to him. How the heck can you say that? I loved him so much because he was someone I thought I would be with forever? Guess not. I got angry and was texting him to ask, "What makes you think I don't love you? I do anything for you." And just as I hit send, his new message popped up and it said, "You wrote your book and you got your party. I assume now that I can finally have my girlfriend back, we can have a talk. I don't think you understand how I want our marriage to be." So I want to make things clear, but then he responded to my message, "Are you kidding me? If you're not going to prioritize me over a book, no one but you cares about, why am I even staying with you? I can go find a woman who supports her man and wants his career and dreams to be successful." So I said, "All right, go find her. We clearly don't work. Best of luck." Him, "Wait, are you breaking up with me? What do you want me to do? You've made it clear. I'm not what you want anymore. You can't just break up with me, Chris. Please, you can't just make that decision for me. You can't break us up like this. It's been 2 years in which the one thing I wanted to do, the one thing I was proud to have done, and you needed to crap on it. You've been so sour about it, and I don't get it. So get your better woman, but you can't just break up with me. We have to talk." He calls, I decline. Pick up. "You are being ridiculous." After he shows up at my door, and the second I opened it, he tried to push in, but I hadn't left the chain lock on. He was screaming at me. He said I can't break up with him. It's been 2 years. How do I think it will go for me to try dating again after passing the expiration date for children? That's when I asked him to leave, or I would call the police. And he said he will never forgive me for this book as it's ruined me as a person. And for some reason I said, "Chris, take your mediocre stick out of your mediocre ass and be on your mediocre way," and called my parents to tell them what happened. My mom is over now, plying me with a mixed drink, and she's been making fun of the repeated "you can't break up with me" line, as he said many times in text, in a bunch in person. She said she was proud because I'm usually quite passive and she didn't like him bulldozing over me. And when I asked her what she meant, she brought up a lot of things I never really thought about. Chris would shoot me down a lot, and I honestly thought I was compromising for our relationship. But it seemed to some that I was just letting him speak for me a lot. 2 years. It feels like a blip in a lifetime. At the same time, it's hitting me that it's over and my mom is staying over with me. But I have so many. What the heck's to deal with? Just not tonight. Update the next day. Holy hell, this blew up. I am usually a Reddit lurker on anonymous mode, so I was overwhelmed in the best way to see all this love and support. It made me cry. Good years, I promise. I cried most of my bitter ones a bit last night on my mom's shoulder. She was right. I don't miss him, but the version of him I thought he was, and so I choose to look forward. Mom and I stayed up and read comments together. She's not a Reddit gal, but loved all your messages and says she's happy to be the Reddit mom, though. Mommy breakfast this morning, and we were eating when there was a knock at the door. My mom held a hand up to help me get up herself, to go to the door and ask who it was. Then I heard her say, "You have 15 seconds to leave or you're going to be made to leave." I got up to see Mom shouting through the still locked door, peeking through my people. There was someone on the other side talking back to her, but she just kept steadily counting down. By the time she got to 6, she had put her shoes on and was holding my broom. I'm not stupid. I knew it was. And even then, but then my phone went off and I didn't reply. It was him again. He left flowers and an apology card along with a stuffed album. Mom asked me if I wanted to read the card and I said I did. It basically was a long-winded apology, admitting he was being a jerk. But work has him stressed and he underappreciated in general, and it all came out in a nasty way. He's so sorry. He should have given me space and respected me more and will never do it again. He didn't sleep last night feeling so much regret over what he did and would be better to please call that he misses me. And let's not throw away 2 good years of foundation away over a stupid fight. I handed it to my mother who read it, snorting and chuckling. "Yeah, I bet," to herself, and then stood up and went to the kitchen, returning with the trash bag and my cell phone. "What's the play, coach?" she asked, and just to freak her out, I took the phone and pretend to call the pizza shop. Yes, Domino's, we need a pizza. Yes. I'm breaking up with my ex and we need to toss this crap out. All that to say, it's now evening. The sun is lower and my neighbors are watching my house as I am in my parents' pool in their backyard, drinking margaritas with my sister and brother. Mom tells the story to all of them over and over. I had texted him, Chris, we are done. All of the things you left at my place are in garbage bags on the porch. The neighbors have their camera pointed at the house, so please just take your stuff and go. Don't knock. I am not in. If it's all there on Monday, it goes with the rest of the garbage to the curb, he replied, asking if not home. Where was I? But I won't be giving energy to this. I will spend the weekend with my family and I feel so lucky to have them. I've decided that I will go for another book for those asking for links to this book already out. Sorry, but when Mom and I read the comments, she said, don't you dare put your name out there. They all seem lovely, but you don't know what others will do and I feel like if I did, it would be like opening the door to Chris like I did last night. You were right. That was dangerous. But if you were looking to do something nice, I would be absolutely overjoyed if you did one or both of two things. 1. Love yourself and truly know you deserve love and nothing less. And 2. Buy books from a locally owned bookstore or buy art from the artist or commission, an art piece, etc. The art world is wonderful, but also a struggle, and many aren't as lucky as I am to have a strong support system. So support yourself and your local artist. Thank you all.
Story 6. My girlfriend thought I was joking about an emergency while she was out partying and completely ignored me. And now I'm considering breaking up after 5 years. I, 22 male, and my girlfriend, 22 female, have been together for 5 years. We've been together since high school, and until recently I've always considered her to be my future wife. I've even bought a ring and was planning on proposing over the coming months. Well, last weekend it was my girlfriend's best friend's birthday. She and her friends booked a private lounge at a club. Obviously I didn't go since 1. I wasn't invited, and 2. I hate clubbing or anything associated with that. I was actually looking forward to spending an evening alone and just binging Netflix or something. Well, my girlfriend left around 9 p.m. and I just crashed on the couch and watched some YouTube. Well, around 11 p.m. I started to feel this distinct stomach pain, the same pain you experience when someone hits you in the nuts. It wasn't bad at first, and I just thought my body was playing some tricks on me. But in the span of about 5 minutes, the pain just kept getting worse until I was basically stuck in a fetal position on the couch again. Initially, I just thought the pain would go away, but then I pulled down my pants and it felt like my right ball was starting to swell. The moment I tried to get up and grabbed my phone to inspect whatever the heck was happening to me, I just collapsed to the floor. That was probably the worst pain I've ever felt in my life. Imagine being pelted in the nuts over and over again. I did manage to crawl to the table next to the couch to get my phone. I immediately tried calling my girlfriend, but she declined my call. I then texted her that something was wrong and asked if she could come home immediately. The club she went to is like a 5-minute walk from our apartment. I just put the phone down and started throwing up because of the pain. After throwing up for like a minute, it felt like the pain started to cool down a bit and I grabbed my phone again. And that's when I saw her response. She just replied with a "what is it" with an unamused emoji. I tried calling her again, but as expected she just declined again. I then texted her that I need to go to the hospital now. She then asked for what? And I just replied with my balls hurt. I then just dialed for emergency services. I explained my situation to the emergency responder and she asked if there was somebody that could drive me to the hospital. And I stupidly said yes. I thought my girlfriend would be home soon and she would drive me to the hospital. I felt embarrassed to call an ambulance because my balls hurt. After I told the emergency response to this, she then told me that she would call me again in 10 minutes to make sure I was being driven to the hospital. I then put down the phone and went back to vomiting on the carpet again after the pain went away for a bit. I checked my phone and saw that my girlfriend just responded with laughing emojis. I again tried to call her, but as expected she just declined again. She texted me that this wasn't the time to play games and she then told me that if I texted or called her again, she would block my number. I again tried calling her, but she declined again. And when I tried calling her a second time, I realized she actually blocked me. I went back to curling up on the floor and now I started shivering. At this point, I didn't care about being embarrassed and just called emergency services again and asked for an ambulance. It felt like an eternity, but the ambulance eventually came and rushed me to the hospital. I don't remember much of surgery since I was sedated, but I remember waking up eventually and my right ball was being stitched together. The doctor informed me that I had a testicular torsion and I was extremely lucky to reach the hospital in time. I could have easily been forced to surgically remove my right ball. I checked my phone and saw the missed calls and messages my girlfriend left me. In summary, she came home from clubbing and smelled the vomit in our apartment. When she saw the vomit on our carpet, she got mad and tried searching the apartment to find me. When she realized I wasn't there, only then did it hit her that I was actually being serious. I just texted her which hospital I was staying in, and my room number, then went to sleep. I woke up the next morning and saw my girlfriend sleeping on a couch next to my bed. After she woke up, she started bombarding me with apologies. She thought I was joking that I was trying to ruin their night, etc. I didn't have the energy to argue, so I just kept quiet. I was beyond hurt by what she did and I wanted to break up with her. That in there, why the heck would somebody ignore messages where their partner is begging them to come home? Not only that, she stayed in the club until 3 a.m. and didn't even consider going home to check on me. She did stay with me in the hospital for the remaining 2 days. I was admitted there and did take good care of me, but I was still beyond pissed at her. Ever since coming home yesterday, I've been wanting to dump her, but at the same time I feel like she genuinely thought I was joking and made a mistake. So I don't know, I might just be overreacting. Update: first of all, I would like to clear up some misconceptions brewing in the comment section of my last post. No, I have never pulled any malicious pranks on my girlfriend to get her to come home early from a night out or anything. Nor do I have an issue with her going out, as long as she doesn't come home at like 6 a.m. And no, I've never blown up her phone like that while she was out with friends. We usually go out together since we share the same friend groups. Here are mine and her messages from WhatsApp in order since people thought I just texted her my balls hurt or something. After she declined my first 2 calls, I texted her, please come home. Something is wrong ? Can't talk right now. What is it? With an unamused emoji. I tried calling again, but when she didn't answer, I just texted her, I need to go to the hospital what? I tried calling again, and when she didn't answer again, I said my balls hurt. Please come now. Something is wrong. She just replied with a ton of crying, laughing emojis. At this point I just called the emergency services and tried giving her a call again. Then she texted me, I swear, don't bother me again or I'm blocking you. Let me enjoy my effing night out. I tried calling her again twice and got blocked. At this point, the pain was too bad to try anything with her anymore, and I just called an ambulance. Her next message after unblocking me at 2 a.m. Why the hell is there vomit in the living room? And where the hell are you? Why is the front door unlocked if you left somewhere? She then went into a full mental breakdown as she realized I was being serious about going to the hospital. Over 70 messages. Also, I just want to say that, yes, it was stupid of me to expect her to drive me to the hospital since she was drinking. But again, in that type of pain, you don't think clearly. I think I needed her more for moral support, and I did it out of pure instinct. I now know not immediately calling an ambulance was also stupid of me. I was in a lot of pain, but stupidly at the time thought that whatever I was going through would eventually calm down and driving to the hospital would be better than calling an ambulance. Also, in hindsight, me being embarrassed about calling an ambulance over my balls was definitely also really stupid. The amount of mental gymnastics some of you did in my comments to paint me as some sort of dweeb or emotionally needy person for bothering my girlfriend was truly mind-blowing to me. I promise you, if my girlfriend was in my position and I ignored her, none of you would be defending me. Now for the update. Thanks to all those who wished me a speedy recovery. I'm doing much better now. Not being able to go to work for the next 3 weeks is definitely a bummer. I work for my dad's construction company and my job requires lifting a lot of heavy weights. I'm also prohibited from having any intimacy for the next 2 to 3 weeks as well. I might have also developed some trauma due to the pain. I randomly get the same sensation again and it's driving me nuts. See what I did there? As for me and my girlfriend, it's complicated as so many of you and my mom told me. 5 years is definitely a long time to be just throwing away without having a proper conversation with her. So I did just that. I told her how hurt I felt by everything. I mentioned the following points: 1. Her ignoring my messages and declining my calls. Yes, clubs are loud, but where I'm from, there are smoking areas where you can definitely have a conversation over the phone. 2. Blocking me after I tried calling her. 3. Her not checking on me once, even though the club she went to was only a 5-minute walk from our apartment. 4. Her being angry about the vomit instead of being concerned. After hearing that, she got defensive and told me that I could have conveyed my situation better and that she genuinely thought I was joking. She was drunk and wasn't thinking clearly. She also told me that it couldn't have been that painful and I was over-exaggerating. I then told her yes, I could have phrased my messages better and I apologized for that. But I then described the pain I was in and told her that I barely had the strength to text her, let alone send her a detailed description of what was happening to me, and definitely couldn't think straight. Throughout everything, after hearing what I said, she started crying and apologizing for what she did. She told me if she knew how serious it was, we wouldn't have been having this conversation. She then also apologized for her being mad over the vomit. According to her, she was drunk and tired and was just expressing frustration. I then asked her why she thought I was joking and if she was cheating on me because this was seriously out of character for her, hence why I immediately trusted her with this. She started crying harder and she looked like I just whacked her in the face. She told me that she just thought I was being insecure about her being in the club with a bunch of guys. And no, she wasn't cheating on me and would never do something like that. We then hugged for a solid 10 minutes after that. The next part was really hard for me, but I told her I need some space to gather my thoughts and told her she needs to stay with her parents for the time being. She immediately started having a mental breakdown and asked if I was breaking up with her. I told her I wasn't sure and needed time to see if I still trusted her after all of this. And what she did was beyond disrespectful. How could I trust someone with my life after they pulled something like this? I then told her that we are young and this mess was mostly caused by our immaturity. This entire situation was an important life lesson for the both of us, regardless if we stayed together. After begging a bit more, she then put her head down and started packing a few essentials. Before leaving, she'd be told she would be willing to do anything to make up for this and that I could take as much time as I needed. She then gave me a big kiss and left. That was 2 days ago, and this is where we currently stand. I still give her updates on my healing, but besides that, we don't contact each other. I'm really torn right now. I still don't have that trust in her, but her owning up to her mistake shows that she knows she messed up and is remorseful. This is definitely something out of the ordinary for her, but there will have to be major boundaries set.
Story 7.
I left my girlfriend of 3 years because she wanted to remain a virgin. Now she wants to get back together, but told me she was intimate with someone else during our breakup. I, 23 male, met my ex, 21 female, 3 years ago. We lived on campus at uni in different halls of residence. After a few months, we got together and for the most part had a very happy relationship. There was always one issue though. My ex grew up in a very religious home. Her father is a pastor. She has been open with her family that she does not share their faith. They weren't happy about it, but accepted that she has to make her own choices on it. Nevertheless, I think some of that religious upbringing was still in her mind. I, on the other hand, grew up in a different religion, but was never very serious about it, and I'm no longer religious. Our relationship was pretty normal, except that she told me very early on that she has her B card and wanted to stay that way until she was married. It wasn't for religious reasons. As I mentioned, she isn't religious, but she was very focused on not disappointing her dad. We did other intimate things, just never went all the way. I never had much luck with girls growing up and going into the relationship. I had my B card and I still am, at least if you classify it as never having had intercourse. Anyway, I was becoming more resentful of the fact that everyone I know was having normal intimate relationships. and we weren't. I couldn't understand why she didn't want to have a full intimate relationship, though of course I never pressured her about it. I felt that while I was at uni and pretty broke, getting married was something for the future. Last year I was in my last year of uni and she was working in her first professional job. Her degree was shorter than mine, so she finished uni first. Despite being younger than me, she was talking a lot about all these successful guys she met at work, which did make me feel lesser as I was still a broke uni student, coupled with her still not wanting a fully intimate relationship. It did make me feel more resentful. We had some arguments about it, and after a while I felt that I should end the relationship as we wanted. Different things in our lives were on different paths. It was awful. She was crying a lot and I felt terrible afterwards. Anyway, it has been nearly 6 months since we broke up. We haven't been in touch at all for most of that time. I have not been involved with anyone else in that time, as I was 100% focused on finishing my degree. I have finally finished uni and I'm about to start my first professional job. She recently got in touch again and asked to meet up. I was hesitant, but decided we had so much good history that I should hear her out. She told me she's been missing me terribly these past 6 months, that she thinks she wants to get back together and is open to having an intimate relationship now. I asked her why now, what changed, and she looked uncomfortable. After a little crying, she said she had a short-term fling with one of the older guys at work while we were broken up, which of course, was fine as she wasn't my girlfriend anymore. Anyway, she said he persisted with her until she started being intimate with her. She ended it with him recently. She was clear that it was consensual, but that the guy was very persistent with pursuing intimacy with her. I was gutted. I couldn't understand why she'd make me wait all those years, but was fine doing it with some new guy she'd only been seeing for a short period of time. I asked if the reason she was open to having an intimate relationship now was because she didn't have her B card anymore. She said yes. I asked her to give me some space to process all this. I'm conflicted and would love some advice on this. I have missed her a lot and still have strong feelings for her, but at the same time it feels like I was strung along for years. It's hard to put my finger on why I don't want to take her back. Everything logically makes sense for us to get back together. I'd even get to finally have an intimate relationship with her. But I feel awful about this whole thing and don't want to ignore those feelings. Edit, some of the comments are being very harsh on my ex, and I guess that's not surprising. You don't know her. She's not some evil, manipulated villain at all. I would never have been with anyone like that. She's still the funny, smart, charming, beautiful girl. I always knew any guy would be lucky to have her. I would be, too, if I could handle the baggage here, but I'm thinking I probably can, and a clean break is the way to go, though she may regret the relationship with the other man. It's not my business. She was a single woman, and we were broken up. I wasn't ever expecting to hear from her again. Really? This whole situation was very surprising to me. I'm feeling hurt because I guess this is a solid blow to my ego that I feel like the lesser man here. I can own that, and that's something for me to work on. Ultimately, I have some hang-ups about lovemaking from this relationship that I need to deal with. A few people have suggested I could benefit from therapy. I'm going to look into that. I think I need help to process all these emotions from this situation. A few things have happened. Last weekend was the Australia Day long weekend. I was on a camping trip in the Grampians for any Aussies reading. It was so nice to be in nature to do some bushwalking with friends and decompress. It felt good to talk about the situation with my mates around the campfire. Most of them knew Ellie pretty well from our years together, and they had a range of views, just like the commenters on my post. And I got the usual good-natured crap about still having my B card. I learned there's an expensive bottle of scotch they bought a while ago that's going to have its seal cracked when mine is. Bastards roll. One great question a friend asked was whether I would have ever decided to reach out and take Ellie back if she never reached out to me first. The answer is no. It was so obvious to me that cut through a lot of the confusion for me. I was being too passive in the situation and needed to do what I wanted, not just react to what Ellie wanted. By the time I was on the way home, I decided to not get back together with her, but that was moot when I was driving home and got a mobile signal. Again, no mobile network where we had camped. The network delivered a bunch of messages from Ellie all at once. She said she was wrong to ask me to get back together and that she's back with Tim now. She also texted that the thing with Tim is more serious than she told me when she last met with me. She apologized for misleading me about her and Tim's relationship. If you remember, she called it a fling before. She asked if we could meet to talk about it. I was not happy, so I just texted back. No, not very mature of me, but I wasn't in the mood to hear more about all this, and I was surprised and pissed off that she lied to me. That seemed very out of character for her. She tried calling me, but I didn't want to answer. She sent another text saying Tim and I had a fight. I shouldn't have come to you. And finally, I'm sorry. When I got home, I was an idiot and let my curiosity get the better of me. I looked up to him online. His real given name is uncommon, so it wasn't hard to find. Found him on LinkedIn, which gave me his full name. Ellie is one of his connections, and he works at the same firm, so I was confident it's him. He's a director at their firm, one level below partner. He also has pics on Insta, lots of posts about his adventures around the world at various events and exotic places, as well as shots with an expensive-looking car. A few photos of him with Ellie with their arms around each other in Singapore in November. I guess that confirms it was serious. He wouldn't have public pics with her for a casual fling. All that just made me feel bad. No good comes from comparing myself to my ex's successful boyfriend. Ellie is not my girlfriend, and I'm not in competition with Tim, so I won't do that again. My ego's bruised enough already. I've been living a very frugal life my whole time at uni, also known as poor as heck, so I know I can feel inferior when I see people with wealth. That's another new problem to sort out. Anyway, all that was on Sunday afternoon and evening. On Tuesday evening, Ellie knocked at my door. She said that she knows I didn't want to talk to her, but she felt bad about everything and hoped it would let her explain herself, clear the air. Then I'd never see her again, if that's what I wanted. I let her in. I was not happy with recent events, but figured I might at least get a clearer idea of what's going on. It was a long, heavy conversation over 4 hours, but here's the gist as I remember. When we broke up, she was devastated. She said it took a couple of months before she started to feel a bit better. She missed me constantly and wanted to see me the whole time. But when I ended it, we agreed to keep apart and heal. In September, she met him at work. He manages a different team. She doesn't work for him. She said he was very charming and attractive and showed almost immediate interest in her. They got to know each other and he asked her out. She was worried it was a rebound, but felt so much better getting his attention that she went along with him. After dating for a while, she developed feelings for him and it later led to an intimate relationship. It wasn't a fling, and she dated him for a while beforehand. I asked about whether he had pressured her into lovemaking last time. She said he was very persistent. She said she was trying to not upset me. She thought if she gave the impression she was reluctant to be intimate with her, that I wouldn't think as badly of it. So it was a story to try and spare my feelings. I told her it just made me worried she had been assaulted. She looked shocked at that and said, "No way. She was actually the one who initiated their intimate relationship." I said, "Although I don't like that she lied to me, I can understand why. I don't think she did anything wrong." Changing her mind about abstinence. Yes, I was hurt when she told me she was making love, but I have no right to judge her for anything. She's a single adult and it's her life. I don't think badly of her. She burst into tears and said something like, "I thought, you must hate me now." I assured her that I didn't. She said she was sad it didn't work for us, but that she never would have dropped her V-card commitment if we had not broken up. After we broke up, she decided that it was a commitment she made to her dad when she was still a kid and it was messing with the life she wants now. So by the time she and Tim got into their relationship, she had already decided she was ready for lovemaking with the right person. I asked about her dad and she just said he doesn't need to know. I asked about why she has to get back together. Tim is older. She told me he's 32 and has been at the firm 10 years. One day at work, one of the women made a snarky comment to Ellie about being another one of Tim's girls. She did some digging, and it turns out Tim has a history. He has dated a long list of women from work. Several of them were young graduate employees, just like Ellie. The rumor around the office is that Ellie is just the next girl to get used by him. She was horrified. She accused him of using her. They argued and she told him it was over. Soon after that, she came to me. She felt as if we might be able to rekindle things now that she was open to an intimate relationship. But my hesitation and time to calm down made her realize that was a mistake. Over the weekend, Tim asked her to work things out. She decided to give it a chance. She tried to call me, but they went to voicemail. I was camping, so she sent those messages instead. So I guess that settles. I don't want her back. And she's in a relationship, so she doesn't want me back either. We chatted a bit about how our families are going. She congratulated me on finally finishing uni. She asked if I had been seeing anyone, and when I told her I'd been studying hard and working a lot since exams, retail job, with no time for girls, she laughed and said, "I'm still a big nerd." She hoped we could be friendly if we ever see each other, but she wants to keep out of contact, out of respect for her relationship with Tim. She wants to give it a real chance of working, which is fair enough. She gave me a hug, said, "Thank you for understanding," and left. So there you have it. Ellie involved me in her relationship drama. I would have preferred she hadn't, but at least it's sorted now. I'm glad I paid attention to my feelings and took time out to consider things, as it could have been very messy if I had taken her back. Trusting my gut has been the biggest lesson for me in all this. I still care for her despite recent events. It seems like she is dealing with a lot of complicated things between her new relationship and work gossip. I wish her well and hope she will be happy, whether it's with Tim or not. She was my first love and I expect I'll always have warm memories of her. But I am clear now that I don't want her back. She is my past and I want to look forward. While this has become an essay, tutors at uni always told me I was too wifely in my writing. Well, screw those guys. I'm not a student anymore. I can now focus on launching my new career with no distractions. I've worked so hard for so long to get here. My new job starts on Monday. It's going to be so great building actual real experience in my new profession. Not just endless theory. I'll be earning much better money. No more student poverty. And I've got graduation in May to look forward to as well. I'm open to finding someone new, but that is way down my priority list. I'm not going to actively pursue that anytime soon. Cheers, everyone, for your comments and advice. I bumped into Ellie again 5 months later. I learned a lot through that experience and believe that I'm a little less naive than I was. Many of you said I would see Ellie, now 22, female, again. You were right. If you recall from my previous posts, my ex, Ellie, and I mutually agreed to be no contact after some drama on her part at the urging of redditors. I also blocked her to help maintain no contact. I've been working since February as a graduate engineer and it's been everything I hoped it would be. I'm meeting amazing, smart people, learning so much every day, and I'm finally earning a salary after years of being a broke student. Having a little money in the bank and being able to afford to do things like eating out is such a nice change. When I finished uni in November, I moved in with my brother temporarily. He just broken up with his ex and needed help with his rent. That's where I was living when Ellie last came to see me. He found a new housemate, and since his place was on the wrong side of the CBD for my job, I moved into a share house in the southeast of Melbourne. The place is a bit rundown, but the rent is reasonable and there are lots of pubs, bars and restaurants nearby. The location and my housemates have been great. I'm seeing someone. I'll call her Olivia. She's the sister of one of my housemates. We met when my housemates and I had a barbecue and she dropped by. We got talking and were still talking hours later until everyone else had left. Her brother told us to shut the heck up so he could get some sleep. I asked her out that week and we've been closed since. My housemate, her brother, has been making fun of us ever since, including more than a few crude jokes when she stays over. We agreed to be exclusive 6 weeks ago, so it's still quite new. She's so cool and smart and gorgeous. The chemistry was instant and intense from the moment we met. We just clicked so well. It's such a great time when we're together. Olivia is an accountant at a big firm. One of Olivia's workmates was having a party last month, and she asked me to come to meet some of her work friends. We went inside and Olivia introduced me to the woman who hosted the party. Her workmate, Jess. There would have been maybe 40 to 50 people there. I didn't know anyone but Olivia. At one point, I offered to grab more drinks. The kitchen was in a separate room as I was getting there. A guy asked me to pass him a beer from the fridge. I introduced myself and he said, "Hi, I'm Tim." Fake name for my last post. He actually said his unusual name. We chatted a couple of minutes about our jobs and how we know Jess. Then I just said, "Nice to meet you," and returned to the group. I didn't recognize his face as I'd never met him before, but it was definitely at least him. His job and firm lineup, and he looked in his 30s, a bit older than most people at the party. Neither of us mentioned Ellie when we were talking. Later on I asked Jess how she knew Tim. She said she used to work at the same firm as Tim, also where Ellie works, but she moved to another employer, where Olivia works. Despite living in a city of 5 million, it's still a small world. On the tram ride home, I must have been quiet because Olivia asked what was on my mind. I said that Tim guy at the party was, or maybe still is, my ex-boyfriend. I said I didn't think he knew who I was, or if he did. He didn't say anything. That prompted me to share some history about me and Ellie. Olivia was wide-eyed and said, "You never told me you had your V card." Then she laughed and said, "Well, we took care of that." She asked if I had any feelings for Ellie, and I truthfully said no. I dealt with all that months ago. More recently, there was a formal charity dinner that Olivia was asked to support. Her employer was a sponsor of the event. She was keen to show me off. We were at a table with a bunch of her work colleagues. Nice people. One of her work friends was so excited to meet you. Me, and Olivia can't stop talking about you. That made me feel really good. After dinner, a few of us were chatting and I got a tap on the shoulder. I turned around and to my surprise, it was Ellie. Tim was with her. It was so weird to see her again. Tim said he remembered meeting me at that party, but never made the connection to Ellie until just now. She must have told him about me. Ellie looked very different. She had lost a lot of weight and was very slim. The tight red dress she was wearing made but obvious. Her dad would not approve. Not that she was ever overweight, but I'd never seen her that thin before. She was immaculately made up with what looked to my ignorance like expensive jewelry. She changed her hair to now blonde instead of her natural auburn. She looked like a sleek, rich girl, not the poor pastor's daughter. I remember. Don't get me wrong, she looked amazing, but she looked like a different person. I know it was a formal event, so we were all dressed nicely. But this was a major transformation. Despite her glam looks, when I saw her, I didn't feel anything for her. Just nothing. Ellie said she was so glad to see me, and she had some news, holding out her hand to show a diamond engagement ring. I know nothing about diamonds, but it looked pretty big and expensive to me. I offered my congratulations to them both. Just then, Olivia walked back over. I introduced her to Ellie and Tim. Olivia put her arm around me and Ellie's smile seemed to kind of freeze. I didn't really know what else to say, so I just said, "Nice to see you again," and wished them all the best for the wedding. Tim walked off and Ellie just sort of stood there a moment. It was awkward. Later on, as we were leaving, Ellie was staring at us as we walked out. Olivia said later that I think she still has a thing for you. I said, "It doesn't matter anyway." Cut 2. A few days ago, my brother messaged me, saying Ellie stopped by looking for me. Yes, read it. You were right. He knew to not share my new address with me. So all he said is I've moved out. Next day I received an email from an address I hadn't seen before. It was Ellie. No acknowledgement that she was breaking our agreement to be no contact. No mention. She stopped by my old place. It said it was so great to see you again. I've missed you. And that girl you were with is pretty. How serious is it? And telling me she and Tim have big plans for their wedding next year and she hopes I can come. I was annoyed because she is trying to make her life my business again, despite promising no contact, even going to the trouble to make a new email address to get around me blocking her. I showed Olivia the email and she rolled her eyes and asked me to think about why my ex would send me that. Why indeed? Olivia is great at cutting through bullshit and reads people way better than I do. Ellie can't have me back. I'm in a relationship now. Plus she's engaged. And it's not like I would go to their wedding. Who goes to their ex's wedding? It wouldn't be right. I don't know why she's trying to contact me, but I can guess that she wants to use me for emotional support again. Or maybe things are rocky with Tim. Who knows? Whatever she wants. It's not happening. She has family and friends. She can talk to them. I deleted the email and blocked the address without replying. Ellie promised to keep out of contact and just couldn't help herself. I still intend to keep my word. No contact, even if she doesn't. I've also set up a filter to send any email containing her name to the bin. Olivia and I had a talk after that. I asked if she was concerned about the Ellie thing, but she said no, she's not worried. She didn't get serial killer vibes from Ellie. I'm glad none of this has put her off me. So nothing too dramatic. But it does prove you guys were right. Ellie could not contact me despite promising to do so. I was able to sidestep her much more easily than last time. Ultimately, this is a good news story. Life is so great right now. I've got a cool new girlfriend, a fun place to live and a new career I love. It has been easy to leave Ellie behind.